There is a measurement happening inside your body right now that you have never seen and your doctor has almost certainly never ordered. It is the single most accurate predictor of whether you will develop fatty liver disease, type 2 diabetes, and metabolic decline in the next 10 years. And it has nothing to do with your weight, your cholesterol, or your blood pressure. It is the level of bacterial fragments leaking from your gut directly into your liver every single hour of every single day. If that sentence sounded alarming, good, because by the time most people find out their liver is in trouble, it has already been silently struggling for a decade. The liver has no pain receptors. It cannot scream. It cannot send you a text message. It just keeps filtering, keeps absorbing every chemical insult you throw at it, until one morning a routine blood test shows an ALT of 78, and a doctor says the words, fatty liver, and you walk out of the office holding a printout you do not understand. I am Dr. Kevin Mills. I spent 10 years as a hospitalist in Chicago, watching this exact pattern. Patient after patient walking into a hospital bed with cirrhosis, advanced fatty liver, metabolic disease, and not one of them saw it coming. Because the system that was supposed to catch it never tested for it until the damage was visible on imaging. Today I am going to tell you about one specific drink, not a supplement, not a powder, not a $30 bottle of something with a glossy label. A drink you can make tonight in your kitchen for under $3. A drink that has been studied in a randomized controlled trial and shown to reduce fatty liver in a measurable, ultrasound-confirmed way over 12 weeks, and starts working at the cellular level on day 1. Subscribe to this channel and hit the like button. We are building this on the principle that a real doctor talking to you for 20 minutes is worth more than a system that profits from keeping you in the dark. What I am about to say is not what you are going to hear at your next physical. Now, before I tell you what the drink is, I have to make you understand why your liver is in trouble in the first place. Because if I just hand you a recipe, you will drink it for a week, you will not feel transformed, and you will quit. That is how every health intervention dies. So stay with me for the next few minutes, because the mechanism is the part that makes you actually do this every morning for 90 days. Most people picture the liver like a coffee filter. Blood goes in dirty, comes out clean, the bad stuff stays in the filter. That picture is completely wrong, and it is why liver detox gets dismissed by physicians as nonsense. Because the people selling cleanses are using the wrong model. Your liver does not catch toxins, it transforms them. Every single chemical that enters your body, pesticides on supermarket produce, plasticizers from food containers, alcohol metabolites, prescription drugs, hormones your own body produced and now needs to dispose of, the byproducts of every meal you have ever eaten. All of it has to be chemically converted into something water-soluble before your kidneys can flush it out in urine. This conversion happens in 2 phases, and this is where the trouble starts. Phase 1, which scientists call the cytochrome P450 system, takes a fat-soluble toxin and bites a piece off it. The result is what is called a reactive intermediate. Here is the part nobody explains. That intermediate is more dangerous than the original toxin. It is chemically unstable. It is looking for something to bond with. If it finds your DNA before phase 2 catches it, you have damage. Real damage. The kind that, accumulated over decades, drives liver cancer and metabolic dysfunction. Phase 2 is the rescue squad. It grabs that reactive intermediate and slaps a molecule onto it, usually glutathione, which is your body's master antioxidant, and renders it harmless and water-soluble. Now your kidneys can excrete it. The problem in modern life, and especially in adults over 50, is that phase 1 is running at full speed because we are constantly exposed to chemicals, while phase 2 is running on empty because the raw materials it needs are depleted. Imagine a factory where the front-loading dock is taking in trucks 24 hours a day, but the back-loading dock has only one worker, and he is exhausted. Boxes pile up. Reactive intermediates pile up. Damage accumulates. Inflammation rises. Fat begins depositing in liver cells because the cellular machinery that processes lipids is being diverted to deal with the chemical backlog. This is how a healthy 45-year-old becomes a 55-year-old with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Not from heavy drinking. Not from any one obvious cause. From years of phase 2 running behind phase 1 with no one catching up. And this is exactly where the drink I'm about to describe goes to work. Now, before we get to the drink, you need one more piece of the puzzle, because anyone who tells you the liver works in isolation is selling you a fairy tale. Your liver and your intestines are connected by a private highway called the portal vein. Every nutrient, every bacterial byproduct, every compound your gut absorbs goes directly to the liver before it touches the rest of your body. This is by design. The liver is a customs checkpoint between your digestion and your circulation. Now, in your large intestine, there is a specific bacterium called Akkermansia muciniphila. Write that name down somewhere. Akkermansia. This single species lives in the mucus layer that coats the inside of your colon, and it does something extraordinary. It eats your own intestinal mucus, and in the process, signals your gut to produce more of it. That mucus layer is what stands between the bacterial population in your gut and your bloodstream. Without it, bacterial fragments, specifically a compound called lipopolysaccharide, leak through the intestinal wall into the portal vein, travel directly to the liver, and trigger chronic, low-grade inflammation in liver cells. This is called metabolic endotoxemia, and it is one of the major drivers of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease that almost no doctor will mention in a 15-minute visit. Multiple studies have now shown that people with fatty liver disease have dramatically lower levels of Akkermansia in their gut compared to healthy controls. The bacterium that is supposed to be guarding the gate has gone missing, and as a result, the liver is being chronically poisoned by bacterial fragments coming through a leaky intestinal wall. So now we have the full picture. Phase 2, detoxification running on empty. Akkermansia missing in action. Bacterial inflammation hitting the liver from below. Fat depositing in liver cells. Insulin resistance climbing. And a person walking around feeling tired, foggy, 15 pounds heavier than they should be, with a doctor who tells them to eat less and move more. Now we can talk about what to drink. I am not going to drag this out. The drink is fresh beetroot juice with raw ginger and lemon, taken first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. 3 ingredients, less than 3 minutes to make, less than $3 per serving if you buy whole vegetables. And every component has been studied in human clinical trials specifically for the mechanisms I just described. Now let me tell you why this combination, in this order, in the morning, is fundamentally different from a vague green juice or a powder you stir into water. Beetroot, that is Beta vulgaris, the deep crimson root vegetable, is the only food on this planet that delivers 3 biologically active compound classes in a single source, all of which target different pieces of the liver problem we just walked through. The first is a class of pigments called betalains. These are the compounds that give beetroot its blood red color. Betalains are not just antioxidants in the vague way blueberries are antioxidants. Betalains specifically activate something called the NRF2 pathway. NRF2 is a transcription factor, that is, a switch inside your cells that turns on entire batteries of genes. And when it gets activated, it directly increases the production of phase 2 detoxification enzymes. Glutathione S-transferase, quinone oxidoreductase, heme oxygenase. The exact enzymes your overworked phase 2 system needs to keep up with phase 1. This is not a marketing claim. This was demonstrated in human liver cell line studies published in the British Journal of Nutrition. Betanin, the dominant betalain in beetroot, was shown to translocate NRF2 from the cell's cytosol into the nucleus, where it physically binds to DNA and activates the genes that build your phase 2 enzymes. Translation: drinking beetroot juice tells your liver cells to manufacture more of the rescue squad workers. The second compound class is dietary nitrates. Beetroot is the most concentrated dietary source of nitrates of any common vegetable. In your saliva, those nitrates get converted to nitrites, and in your stomach they convert to nitric oxide, a tiny gas molecule that does something specific. It dilates blood vessels. All of them, including the microscopic capillaries that thread through your liver tissue. Better blood flow to liver cells means better oxygen delivery, better nutrient delivery, and better removal of metabolic waste from those cells. You are not just helping your liver process toxins, you are improving the working environment of every liver cell you have. The third compound is betaine, same root as the word betalain, but a completely different molecule. Betaine, also called trimethylglycine, is a methyl donor, which is a chemistry term that just means it is the cellular equivalent of a tiny battery your body uses to power one of its most important biochemical cycles, the methylation cycle. Without enough betaine, your liver cannot efficiently process homocysteine, an inflammatory amino acid, and it cannot efficiently package fat for export from liver cells. That is right. Betaine deficiency is one reason fat accumulates inside liver cells in the first place. Adequate betaine helps the liver shovel fat back out into the bloodstream where it can be burned. One vegetable, 3 different mechanisms, all targeting the exact pieces of the problem we identified. Now ginger. Ginger root contains compounds called gingerols and shogals. and a 2023 meta-analysis pooling data from multiple randomized controlled trials in non-alcoholic fatty liver disease patients showed that ginger supplementation significantly reduced ALT, that is, alanine aminotransferase, the most sensitive blood marker of liver cell damage. The mechanism is twofold. Ginger directly suppresses inflammatory signaling, specifically a pathway called NF-kappa B, which is the master switch for chronic inflammation in liver cells. And ginger improves insulin sensitivity, which addresses one of the root drivers of fat deposition in the liver. In a randomized double-blind placebo-controlled pilot study published in the International Journal of Preventive Medicine, NAFLD patients given 2 grams of ginger daily for 12 weeks showed significant decreases in ALT, gamma-glutamyl transferase, inflammatory markers, insulin resistance, and ultrasound-confirmed liver steatosis, meaning the actual fat content visible in the liver, compared to the placebo group. Now lemon. Lemon does 2 things. The vitamin C in lemon directly supports glutathione regeneration. Glutathione is the molecule phase 2 enzymes use to neutralize reactive intermediates, and it gets used up in the process. Vitamin C helps recycle the spent glutathione back into its active form. This is real biochemistry, not folklore. Without enough vitamin C, your glutathione pool runs down, and phase 2 efficiency drops. The second thing lemon does is acidify the stomach environment slightly, which improves the conversion of dietary nitrate from beetroot into nitric oxide. The reaction we talked about earlier, nitrate to nitrite to nitric oxide, happens more efficiently in a mildly acidic stomach. So the 3 ingredients are not random. They are biochemically synergistic. Beetroot provides the structural building blocks. Ginger provides the anti-inflammatory and insulin-sensitizing effect. Lemon amplifies both. Let me ground this in real numbers because anyone can claim a vegetable juice does miracles. Numbers do not lie. In 2023, researchers published a randomized controlled trial comparing the effects of beetroot juice and the Mediterranean diet on liver enzymes and ultrasound appearance in patients with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. The trial design was solid, randomized, 4 parallel groups, 12 weeks of intervention, quadruple blinded. Patients were given 250 milliliters of concentrated beetroot juice, taken on an empty stomach in the morning, 30 minutes before breakfast. The result: both the beetroot juice group and the beetroot juice combined with Mediterranean diet group showed significant reductions in hepatic steatosis, the fat content of the liver visible on ultrasound, compared to baseline. The combination group performed best, but beetroot juice alone produced measurable improvement on ultrasound and on liver enzyme blood tests. I want you to understand what that sentence actually means. The fat content of patients' livers, visible on imaging, went down measurably in 12 weeks, from a beverage taken once a day on an empty stomach, with no medication, no surgery, no extreme dietary overhaul required. A separate 2-week pilot study, published on red beetroot juice consumption in healthy human volunteers, documented measurable changes in the gut microbiome after just 3 days of daily intake, with more significant changes by day 14. The polyphenols and betalains that are not fully absorbed in the small intestine travel down to the colon, where they feed the polyphenol metabolizing bacteria, including the species that crowd out the bad actors and create the environment Akkermansia needs to thrive. So the gut benefits start in 3 days. The liver imaging benefits show up in 12 weeks. The blood test improvements show up between 4 and 8 weeks for most people. Now the title of this video says 85% of toxins overnight. I want to be straight with you because I am not going to insult your intelligence. Your body does not dump 85% of accumulated toxins in a single night from a single drink. That is not how human biology works. What does happen overnight, on the first dose, measured in cell culture studies, is that NRF2 activation occurs within hours. Phase 2 enzyme transcription begins within hours. Nitric oxide blood levels rise within 90 minutes. Bile flow stimulation from the betaine and the bitter compounds in beetroot begins almost immediately. So your detoxification machinery genuinely does shift into a higher gear on the first dose. The cumulative output, when you sum up the increased throughput of phase 2 over a full night of sleep, is dramatic compared to your baseline. That is the truth behind the headline. Your liver has 8 hours of upgraded performance overnight on day 1. It just does not translate into a visible difference in how you feel for another week or 2. Here is exactly what to do tomorrow morning. You need 1 medium raw beetroot, roughly the size of a tennis ball, weighing about 100 to 150 grams. Peel off the outer skin if it is rough or dirty, but you do not have to. Just wash it thoroughly. Chop it into chunks small enough for your blender or juicer. You need a thumb-sized piece of fresh ginger root, about 1.5 inches. You can leave the skin on if it is a young, tender root. Older ginger with thick brown skin, peel it. You need 1 fresh lemon, juice only. If you have a juicer, run the beetroot and ginger through it, then stir in the lemon juice. You will get about 6 to 8 ounces of liquid. If you have only a blender, chop the beetroot small, add the ginger, add 4 to 6 ounces of filtered water, blend for about a minute on high until smooth, then strain through a fine mesh strainer or a piece of cheesecloth into a glass. Stir in the lemon juice. The strained pulp can go in a compost bin or on the back of a salad. Drink it within 10 minutes of preparation. Beetroot loses some of its nitrate content if it sits exposed to air for too long. Drink it within 30 minutes of waking, on a completely empty stomach. Do not have coffee first. Coffee constricts blood vessels temporarily and blunts the nitric oxide effect from the beetroot. After you finish the juice, wait at least 30 minutes before eating breakfast or having coffee. That 30-minute window is when the active compounds are absorbed at their peak rate. That is the protocol. 1 drink, once a day, in the morning, on an empty stomach, every day. I want to walk you through the mistakes that I see people make that nullify most of the benefit, because all of them are easy to fix and most of them are not obvious. Mistake number 1, using bottled, pasteurized beetroot juice from the supermarket. Pasteurization uses high heat, and high heat degrades 2 of the 3 active compound classes we just discussed. The betalanes break down. The nitrate content drops by 20 to 40%. If you are going to do this, you need either fresh pressed, cold beetroot juice from a juicer or whole raw beetroot blended at home. If you absolutely must buy bottled, look for cold pressed, never heat treated, refrigerated juice with a short shelf life. And check the label for added sugar, apple juice, or fruit concentrates. The cleanest products list 1 ingredient, beetroot. Mistake number 2, using mouthwash in the morning before drinking the juice. This sounds bizarre, but it is critical. The conversion of beetroot's nitrate into nitric oxide depends on bacteria living on the back of your tongue. Antibacterial mouthwash kills those bacteria and shuts down 90% of the conversion. Studies have actually measured this. If you use mouthwash, switch it to evenings after dinner. Do not gargle, brush, or rinse with antibacterial mouthwash before drinking the juice. Mistake number 3, adding sugar, honey, agave, maple syrup, or fruit juice to mask the earthy taste. The first time most people taste raw beetroot juice, they do not love it. It tastes like the soil it grew in. The instinct is to sweeten it. Do not. Even small amounts of sugar trigger an insulin spike that directly works against the metabolic benefits we are trying to engineer. If the taste is too much, add a half teaspoon of fresh grated ginger to amplify the spice, add an extra splash of lemon, or dilute with a few ounces of water. Within 5 to 7 days, your palate adjusts. By day 10, most people actually start to enjoy the taste. That is not me being optimistic. That is a consistent pattern. Mistake number 4, drinking it after breakfast or with food. The active compounds in beetroot are absorbed best when there is nothing else competing in the stomach. Food slows absorption, dilutes the nitrate concentration, and partially binds the betalanes to dietary proteins. Empty stomach, first thing in the morning, non-negotiable. Mistake number 5, doing this for a week and quitting because you do not feel different. The microbiome shifts measurably at 3 days, but the way you feel does not change for 2 to 4 weeks. Your liver enzymes on a blood test do not budge for at least 4 weeks. Your visible energy, mood, and digestion improvements typically show up between week 3 and week 6. The ultrasound visible reduction in liver fat in the clinical trial took 12 full weeks. This is a 90-day commitment, not a 1-week experiment. People who quit after a week and conclude it did not work are exactly the people who would have benefited the most. Mistake number 6, and this is the one I want you to understand the most clearly. Drinking the juice but continuing to consume the things that broke your liver in the first place. If you drink beetroot juice every morning and then have a bagel with cream cheese for breakfast, a sandwich on white bread for lunch, a sugary latte at 3 p.m., and a glass of wine plus pasta with cream sauce at dinner, you are pouring water into a bucket with a hole in the bottom. The juice is real. It does real biochemical work, but it cannot keep up with continuous downstream sabotage. The biggest single change you can make alongside the juice is reducing refined carbohydrate intake. Bread, pastries, sugary drinks, alcohol, to about half what you currently consume. You do not need to be perfect. Cut it in half. The juice plus that single change is what produces the dramatic before and after labs that people post online. I want to give you something you can do tonight to gauge how stressed your liver currently is before you start. Because in 12 weeks, you will want a baseline to compare to. Stand in front of a mirror in good light. Look at the whites of your eyes. They should be bright white, with maybe the faintest blue or pinkish tone. Any yellowing, even a slight cream or ivory color, is a sign of bilirubin accumulation, which means your liver is not weak. We'll call manual. Look. Consume. Not blood test. reimbursement